brief history of all the Dodge Ram slash Ram trucks I have owned over time. I've owned a lot of trucks in my life. My first truck was a 75 GMC, then I had a 78 Chevy, then I had a 88 Chevy 2500. But I've always wanted that Cummins diesel. Growing up, I loved the Peterbilts and the Kenworths. Some trucks had the Cat, some trucks had the Cummins, but I always loved that straight six diesel truck, you know? Well, when I had the money, I purchased my very first diesel truck. It was a 1999 Dodge Ram 2500 4x4 crew cab long bed. Because back then, I loved long beds, and my previous Chevy trucks were all regular cab long beds. Anyways, so with this presentation, I'm going to talk about the trucks that I've owned, give you a little history of the truck. You can see on the PowerPoint here all the aftermarket stuff I've done to the truck and some issues and repairs. Now, this is from what I can remember as of the making of this video, because these trucks, I had these trucks a long time ago, and I only remember so much. But anyway, so this was a Laramie Sport, and it is a very rare truck. Most sports did not come as a Laramie, as in it didn't have leather. This truck was a Laramie, which was a top of the line, and it came with leather interior, power windows, power seats, everything at the time that you could get in a heavy duty truck. All the whatever, and it's a sport, which means it has color match bumper and grille. And the 1999 versions were different from the 98s. The bumpers were different and the grill was different. It wasn't just a regular 98 flat type crosshair grill that was just painted the color match, but this grill is more, it comes at a point on the crosshairs and the grill stuff. It's just different, and it's a beautiful truck. Truck came with a 47 RE 4-speed automatic transmission, and I thought that this would be the truck I would pass down to my kids, but that obviously didn't happen. I put over 240,000 miles on this truck when I sold it. At least that's what I had at the time. Aftermarket wise, you can see everything I've done to it. All the repairs and issues that occurred with this truck happened after 100,000 miles, and it happened after I added the first box, the TST. Had the transmission rebuilt. I had to get a new VP44 and the in-tank pump installed. That was all caused by the TST box. Then I took the box off, added an Edge EZ box, but the Edge EZ, the truck just didn't like that, so I got rid of that, and the truck remained stock for like the last 100,000 miles of the life of this truck. Freeze plugs, new gasket, and exhaust cracking on the manifold happened at around 187,000 miles, if I remember correctly. Got all that done, a few new engine sensors, a lot of the stuff I did myself. A lot of the work, particularly this aftermarket stuff, I did myself. As a matter of fact, all of this was done myself, except for the trans rebuild, front end rebuild, and the installation of a new VP44 and in-tank pump. Everything else I did myself. So I learned a lot about, and mainly because at the time I didn't have the money to go get this stuff done, so I did it myself. When I mentioned trans rebuild, I also had this stuff installed, so that market torque converter and valve body. So that I didn't do those myself. Everything transmission related, that was done by a shop and the front end. But anyways, so that was my 99, and I thought it would be the truck I would keep forever. And I do miss this truck. This was a great truck. You can see the stock power ratings, 215 horse and 420 pound-feet of torque. You can Google that. That is accurate for this year. That's the truck. That's the amount of power that it had, and zero emissions. By the way, this truck came with just a 3-inch pipe from the turbo back. It might have been 2.5-inch. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it's 3-inch. Anyways, driving by the lot, and I saw this, and it didn't look like this, but this is what the truck turned out to be after I did all this stuff. This was a 2011 Ram 2500. It was a bighorn, so this wasn't the bottom of the barrel trim. This wasn't the top of the line, the Time Laramie. This is the bighorn, right in the middle. There was another truck on the lot. It was 2012. It was a Laramie. It had the difference between the Laramie and this bighorn was that the Laramie had wood grain trim dual climate zone, and leather seats. Everything else, this Bighorn had. It had the 7-inch, I think it was 7-inch, Uconnect screen, the center console, all the power, door locks, windows, everything else that the Laramie had, this truck had. This truck didn't have leather, wood grain, or dual climate zone. The truck came with a backup camera, all that stuff. Um, Bought it new. I sold it at about 140,000 miles. You can see the stock power ratings that it had. Oh, that's a misspelled auto A, just auto. As in, this is the stock power rating for the automatic transmission, and that's what this truck had, the 68 RFE automatic transmission. By the way, I never had any problems with the 68 RFE in this truck. All this aftermarket stuff, I did myself, every bit of it. GDP, this isn't GDP tuners. They didn't exist at the time. This is Glacial Diesel Power. They have Rich, who owns Glacial Diesel Power, has a lot of great hard parts. So I added like big line kit and a whole bunch of like fuel line stuff, like a lot of stuff I did on my 99, I also did on my 2011. So lots of engine and emissions work on this truck. All this stuff, again, everything that was done to this truck, I did myself. I'm sorry, correction, except for the cat skin leather. I did take the truck into the shop to get that done. Other than that, all the major work was done by me. I love this truck, but there was something that I really wanted a better interior looking truck. That's why I had the leather, whatever. It still just wasn't the same. So 2016, I purchased a Longhorn. Great interior. Love the interior. Because here the power rating had gone up, 370 horse, 800 pound-feet of torque with the automatic. Whole new set of emissions, like with the 11. The 11 came with the EGR, the diesel oxidation catalyst, and the DPF. 2013, they added SCR, and this was 16 model, so obviously it had the SCR. Only thing aftermarket I added were, you can see right here what I added: SMB intake, shorty antenna, dash cam, PML, diff covers, front and rear. I had an issue with regen at 35,000 miles. I did a video on that. You can take a look at that. It's my hot shot versus diesel clean video. All in all, had 77,000, bought it new, traded it at 77,000 miles for 17 Ford F350, Power Stroke. You've seen videos on that. Then I traded that truck in for this one. This is my 18. This is the limited tungsten edition, so this is like top of the line. Limited tungsten edition means that it had the leather suede headliner, blacked out lights, the brushed aluminum look on the everything that was chrome on a regular limited, it was like a brushed aluminum type look, whatever. Bought this one new, put 22,000 miles on it before I traded this truck in for a 19 F250 Platinum. Anyways, back to the 18. These are some aftermarket stuff I did to it. No issues to report. Got the 19 Ford. Then I traded that because I was just not happy with the Ford. Traded that for this one. This is my 19 Ram 2500, the one I own now. This is a Laramie Longhorn. And I'll be honest, the 19's interior are amazing. The Laramie Longhorn interior on these new trucks, I think, are better than the limiteds. I love that brown black offset look, and it's just amazing. The interior is just amazing on these trucks, and the interior is light years ahead of both Ford and GM. Like they do not hold a candle when it comes to interior design, fit and finish, quality of materials, and everything else used for the interiors of these trucks. They can't come close. This truck also has the 68 RFE. It's my fourth Ram truck with the 68 RFE, and no issues. I have over 5,000 miles on this truck, and truck's been great. Gets great fuel mileage. The transmission is much more refined than the previous generation. Shifting is great. Everything is great. Just a lot of great things about this truck, and I'm really glad I came back to Ram from the Ford. I installed a Rexing dash cam on the truck. I always have dash cam. It's so important to have a dash cam on your truck, by the way. You can see your horsepower and torque. The torque increased by 50 foot-pounds, pound-feet. Horsepower remains the same. But all said and all my 4th gen trucks and my 5th gen that have the 68 RFE never had any issues. Not one issue with the 68 RFE. Now, some say, I've heard people say, well, I'd rather have an older truck with no emissions because you get great fuel mileage and all that stuff, and you don't have to worry about emissions. Yeah, that's true. Like, to be honest, I do miss my 99. I really do. That was a great truck. Um, Sometimes I go online and I look for it, but I don't know. I'm sure whoever has it is will keep that truck forever. But I get better fuel mileage out of these newer trucks, particularly the 16, 18, and the 19. All three of these trucks, I have managed to pull over 25 miles to the gallon unloaded highway. And I have the records. You've seen my videos on my mileage reports. I have proven it. To get 25 miles out of the gallon to the gallon out of an older truck, not going to happen. But I still got good fuel mileage out of my 99. Don't get me wrong, I got really good fuel mileage out of this truck. But and the truck had no emissions. But you know, think about this. Like, you even look at the horsepower and torque numbers, right? 215 horse, 420 pound-feet of torque for my 99, and then you look at my 2019 370 horse, 800 pound-feet of torque, has all this emission stuff on it, and I still get over 20 miles to the gallon, easy. At the highest I've gotten was 25 point something. I'm sure I'll get better when we switch back over to summer fuels. But I don't. If I had a choice now to pick between an older pre-emissions truck versus a new truck, I'd probably take the new truck, mainly because all the creature comforts, and it's great to have. I love these new trucks, but I wouldn't mind an older truck. Those older trucks are great, but you know, the amenities that these new trucks have are just amazing. Um, sure, could I do without emissions? Yeah, I would love to have a truck without emissions, but that would be breaking the law, and I don't want to do that. And with the crackdown, with the EPA crackdown, they're coming hard. They're coming down hard, and I wouldn't be surprised if they start finding individual people. I mean, I don't know. You never know what they're gonna do, right? But hey, if you want to make a difference, you need to start voting. That's all I gotta say. Um, but anyways, so that's just a brief history of all my Ram trucks. Um, I've owned I've owned 5 Cummins diesels. I can take one apart and put one back together with my eyes closed. Um, I know a lot about these trucks. I'm not just someone who drives them and don't work on them. I work on them myself, mainly because it's cheaper that way. But you know, sometimes I say what I say on my channel. A lot of it I'm sharing information. I like to share information that you don't really see out there, right? Like, you don't hear about TFL truck or some of these other YouTube truck people talk about emissions. They don't talk about that. And I don't understand why. Now, I don't have a lot of documentation on it, but I try to talk about it as much as I can to get the information out whenever I come across new material. The Ford emissions, I did Ford emissions video on that, but and that's similar to, I mean, the basic layout is the same. I mean, the design, all that kind of stuff, passive, active regens, and so forth. But I wish those mainstream truck channels would talk about emissions. What's changed? I'd like to know what's changed, what's going to be changing, what's coming up in the future. But hey, they won't touch that. But whatever. Um, anyway, so enough rambling. That's just kind of my history and all my Ram/1 Dodge Ram Cummins trucks I've owned.